Hello everyone and welcome back to the Smogon YouTube channel. This is Gold Mason back for another SPL commentated set, commentating finals. It is Groudon versus Christos, a must-win for the congregation of the Classiest. Groudon has a lot of pressure on his shoulders and we're excited to see how he does. I am joined today by Ty Carter. How you doing, Ty?
I'm doing pretty good. Very excited to see how this match turns out.
Absolutely. And we are going to hop right into it. I would like to mention just before we jump in that Typhoon Carter is actually a YouTuber as well. He posts every single DPP SPL set. So if you're interested in DPP and want to see more, go check out his channel. But we are hopping in, and at lead we have a Zelf versus Roserade. Kind of favors Groudon, I think, right?
Yeah. For the most part, it depends on a couple things, because the Azelf obviously usually Azelf would be like Focus Sash, but some Azelf leads like to run Lumberry for like in case like the Roserade on Christos' side happens to be Scarf. It's usually either Focus Sash or Scarf on lead Roserade. Usually it's like have a frail lead, although bulkier Roserade leads certainly are a thing. And Azelf here normally should be able to taunt. The other option here on lead is that Azelf can also be something like Choice Band. So like Azelf could, for example, just let a U-turn rip. And if the Roserade happens to say be Sleep Powder, then the Azelf could maybe, if it's like CB, then it could be packing like Sleep Talk. Just stuff like that. So there's some variability in the sets, but yeah, it's an interesting lead matchup for sure.
Absolutely, and let's see how it unfolds. We've got a switch from Christos to Tyranitar, and Groudon just goes for the Stealth Rock. Oh, a
That
big
is
reveal.
Choice Scar. Yeah. So because Christos showed Choice Scarf Tyranitar in the back here, and getting the sand up was very important for Christos, because when you get the sand up, it means that you're going to be able to break the Focus Sash, and that was good on Groudon to like ensure he got rocks up in case of any shenanigans, because of the fact that like Christos obviously has to fear a possible Lumberry from Azelf, and then however, because of the fact that the Tyranitar now got its revenge kill on, took out the Azelf, prevent from doing too much, Groudon's team could possibly be like a hyper offense team, so this could be giving a possible setup opportunity to like a possible Dragondance sweeper, such as like say a Groudon, or sorry, a Tyranitar or a Metagross, for example. So that's something to keep an eye out on to see how he follows up on this.
And the follow-up is going to be Tyranitar. Skarmory from Christos looks pretty safe. Dragondance.
Yeah. DD Tar, usually most Dragondance Tyrantars, they're gonna be running like your standard Crunch EQ with like either one of Ice Punch or Fire Punch. Usually you might see Ice Punch on Dragondance Tyranitar if there's a mag in the back to like trap Scarm, but this Skarmory not showing any recovery so far, so this could be telling me it might be like a Shed Scarm or something like that. Gotta keep an eye out for that. Fire punches indeed. And just counters here.
That was massive.
Yeah. And here, so because of the fact that the Skarmory showed a counter, this means that it is not packing Brave Bird, which is normally needed to like keep something like Breloom in check. It's kind of an alternative option, but Groudon just realizing this. However, usually on these hyper offense teams, like if you're running Dragondance spam against something like a Skarmory, usually you gotta have like a method to deal with the Scarm, whether it's like a mix breaker, such as like a Dragonite, or maybe even like a special Jirachi, stuff like that. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. But Groudon, he's DDing up, probably just looking to get some damage off. And I think based off that damage roll on the Dragondance T-Tar with Fire Punch, I think that was especially defensive Scarm. So this Scarm might actually not be able to take like additional hits from the DDers, possibly. So let's just keep moving along.
Absolutely. And we have Taunt.
Taunt. Yeah, so this Scarm is completely helpless here, and Lottie is brought out. Um, yeah, so Christos showing 4 pokes now, and this is a bit of a weird spot for Christos because Christos's team, like you see a Roserate lead, you see the Scarm, you see a Choice Scarf Tyranitar, and then now you have the Lottie that's shown leftovers, and this tells me that this is probably some kind of defensive Latias on this kind of team, like as an additional backbone. However, the Gyarados showing taunt here makes it a lot more awkward for Kristoff. Now, we don't know what the last move on this Gyarados could be. It could be running like Waterfall Ice Fang. Yeah, because normally, again, no reason not to run Waterfall. Could be like Waterfall EQ, could even be something like, but usually it's one of those two. And for Christos, now there's like a bit of a weird dynamic where if Christos does say have T-Wave or Reflect, it's like, can you really afford to try to like get that up, try to catch the Gyarados not taunting, or like try to get damage off as it taunts? So that's something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, also, the Gyarados is not recovering in sand, so it might have like Wakanberry
Lumberry.
or Lumberry. Yeah,
Could be
either way.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens next. We're going to see Waterfall and Dragon Pulse.
And yeah, that Dragon Ball is not doing a whole lot here, and Christos now in a really, really bad spot here because like you have to have something else to handle like the DDers. Like, yes, you have the Scarm, but because the Scarm is not running lefties, because it's shown counter, it's like you also don't have hazards up on the field at all. It's like Christos has to have something else in the back here that can maybe keep a Gyarados in check, like maybe even like a Wish Protect Jirachi or something like that. But on this T-Spike kind of team from Christos, usually it might be something like a Sub Jirachi or like just a Protect Mon that can like rack up T-Spike's damage normally on these kind of teams. But yeah, no, Christos looking like in a really dire spot, just like the follow-up after taking out the Tyranitar. And let's keep moving right along.
Good to see Roserade come back in on return.
Yeah. Okay, and Poison Point here. So Christos catches a huge break caught there by Christos, like being able to get that Poison Point proc off, because I think if Christos did not get the Poison Point proc off, then I think the game was like, he would have been incredibly behind, despite the fact that he still has the numbers advantage in this game. And now the Swampert's brought out, so the Swampert probably has Protect, like on this kind of T-Spike's team. It's probably some kind of bulky pert. But yeah, so it went from very bad for Christos to now relatively manageable, especially when the Gira has no recovery whatsoever. And Sand wearing it down too.
Yeah, it's only going to be able to maybe get a hit off on one more Pokemon, so we'll see which one that is. Possibly just the Lottie is sacked off. Here is the Protect. And to the Waterfall. Maybe even goes for double Protect. Might be a little greedy, though.
I think you got sack something else.
No.
Oh, I don't love that. Don't love that from Christos for a couple reasons. So the first thing is that one, like your Lottie already was kind of in a bad spot, because again, when I look at Groudon's team, now that the Metagross is shown, Metagross on these Azelf hyper offense teams usually makes sense because these teams need to have some kind of backbone that can handle Choice Specs Latias. So Metagross on Groudon's team, a very natural choice here. And the other issue really though is that like your Swampert, which was probably assuming that Groudon say has a Dragondance Dragonite in the back, because again, like these triple DD hyper offense teams, not unheard of, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a D-Knight in the back, for example. It's like now you can't really use Swampert to like trade for it or like handle all these threats. So I think like he should have either sack the Latias or he should have sacked the Skarmory, one of those two. Although I think usually, because again, Christos, very knowledgeable player, he probably was aware that there's probably some kind of steal in the back in Megros would not have been surprising of a choice. So I would probably sack Lottie there because Lottie isn't providing nearly as much value anymore at this stage in the game, is like probably my main thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, yeah.
And now the Pert is very chipped, which makes this Metagross look incredibly threatening, depending on what it has for Scarm.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be like Trick, possibly. Okay, I don't agree with that. Yeah. That was not ideal. And Jirachi brought out here. This could be like a super Jirachi, could be something like, you know, a mixed Jirachi with like say Iron Head, Fire Punch, and then maybe say like a Thunder or Thunderbolt, for example. It could also be like special Jirachi on this type of team because again, like out of the 5 pokes shown on Groudon's team, it's like 4 of these are all like physical attackers. So like this Jirachi probably being special would make a lot of sense because again, you need to have a way to break a Skarmory on these kinds of teams. Otherwise, you're kind of just gonna get phased out all day. Even though Groudon did have like the Taunt Gira as like a soft countermeasure to that, which came in quite handy. But yeah, very tricky spot for Christos now. Although I feel like that was entirely avoidable. I don't see why he didn't just protect with that Swampert because, for example, you could have maybe even scouted like a trick from Megros, for example, like just things like that.
Absolutely. But now we've got Jirachi in on Skarmory, and the Tyranitar is still looking pretty nice in the back, other than the Iron Head on this Jirachi potentially. We're going to see Thunder come out.
Yeah, that's a hefty amount. And yeah, there's the Dragonite indeed. This Dragonite here could be, if it's like DD, could also be mixed on this kind of team. I've seen like iterations of Azelf offenses with like the free DDers with like the Dragonite being a mixed poke on these. So it could be like Fire Blast, could be like just Fire Punch, but even Fire Punch I think would do a significant amount to Skarmory, not to mention you still have the Jirachi that's chilling, and it showed lefty, so it could even be something like sub Jirachi with like Thunder, Iron Head. That's a bit of an infamous set that's made it headlines in DPP nowadays.
Absolutely. The Dragonite makes sense to me too. It's this is a pretty standard hyper offense from Groudon, at least from the DPP that I've seen. And this Dragonite is now looking incredibly threatening. I mean, even a mixed set with like superpower would be kind of scary for Christos, depending on the Tyranitar's set. But we're going to see Latias come in, potentially to be sacked off to Fire Punch into E-Speed. No, never mind, the burn.
Oh, and it is Life Orb, so Life Orb DD is definitely a thing. And Ice Punch there, but
Ice Punch from the Tyranitar, but that just lets Jirachi in.
Yeah, something to note there was that burn was actually pretty crucial on the Latias because of the fact that one, the Dragonite probably would have needed to, if it had extreme speed, which it very well might have had, Dragonite would have needed to expend another attack. And I think the reason Christos opted for Ice Punch instead of say crunching, I think was because the Dragonite was like potentially out of range, or like it might have not been a favorable roll. So that like burn could be really problematic because the Tyranitar could have say locked into crunch, which I think Christos would have much preferred.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Jirachi is let in. This Ice Punch Tyranitar is going to leave. Here comes Skarmory, and it's a substitute Jirachi. That is not good. Thunder hits. Goodbye, Scarm.
Yeah. And yeah, this Tyranitar now has to crunch to break the sub. Iron Head's here.
Yeah.
This T-Tar probably not going to do enough unless he crits here. But
not even.
No,
still wouldn't have been enough. And the last Pokemon for Christos is going to have to do it. It is a Rotom.
This is, I think this might be this could be like Scarf Rotom. It could be like a double Scarf because like Christos's team, now that I see it in full, it's like it just looks like a very anti-offense team. You got Roserade with T-Spikes, you got the phasers in Scarm, you got Lottie as a backbone, you got Swampert, what I assume is a tanky pert, and then you also got like the Tyranitar that's Choice Scarf to remove like Gengar, because Gengar is actually kind of a problem for this kind of team. But we'll find out soon enough what this exact Rotom set is.
Yeah, and I mean, I expect it to be Scarf as well. The Latias wasn't, and I mean, Tyranitar being your only Scarf user is probably not wise, but we'll see here. Clicks Thunderbolt, does 36%.
And
unfortunate.
But no, but the Rotom being last suddenly makes Christos's earlier turns look even more appalling, especially against the Gyarados, because my thing is like, why didn't he just send out the Rotom against the Gyarados like the first turn it DD'd? Because even if it DD's up, or let's say it just Waterfalls the first turn, you can live one. So like seeing like Christos reveal the Rotom so late just felt like a total missed opportunity for Christos.
Yeah, and unfortunately it does mean that he would not take home the victory today, and that does, I believe, give the Classiest a big shot to make it into the finals. So congratulations to Groudon for a pretty well, I mean, even though Christos maybe misplayed with the Scarm, I mean, pretty well played from Groudon to find the out here.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he capitalized. He did a good job like being able to capitalize on Christos's mistakes. And again, I feel like this is just kind of a missed opportunity, because again, like Christos's team is pretty well suited to take on like these hyper offense or like these very offensive teams, especially like with the Skarmory. Like again, as I said before, great backbone, and I think like on that Gyro turn, like the first turn it DD'd up, I think you kind of have to go Rotom here just to force Groudon to reveal more of his team as the game progresses. Like that's kind of, again, like just a missed opportunities from Christos, and great job from Groudon being able to capitalize on these mistakes.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Ty, for joining us. And once again, if you enjoy DPP, please go check out Ty Carter's channel. It'll be linked in the description. But thank you again, Ty, for joining us, and look forward to seeing more from you on your channel.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This has been Gold Mason and Ty Carter, and we will see you next time on another SPL commentated set.